Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Dan Hiscock, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Corporal Adam Burke. We warmly welcome the family of Lance Corporal Wallace Webb, whose story will be told shortly. This evening we are honoured to acknowledge the Australian Political Exchange Council's delegation from New Zealand, and as always we welcome the veterans who have served, those still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Service Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family, visitors to the memorial, and students on behalf of St Pius X High School from Adamstown, New South Wales. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. If you wish to and you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read just one of the stories from the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament. Flowers at the forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Lance Corporal Wallace Webb. Wallace Webb was born near Bathurst on the 31st of May 1919, the third child and first son of Oswald and Eva Webb. His education began with correspondence lessons supervised by a governess before he attended Bathurst High School. In 1936, he moved to Sydney as a boarder at Newington College for his senior years. Most members of the Webb family were proficient musicians. Wallace became known as Paddy after the Polish pianist and composer Paderewski after he developed a love and talent for playing piano and organ. He was keen to study at the Sydney Conservatorium of Music after leaving school, but his father insisted he return home and continue working on the family property at Glenmire Hall near Bathurst. Aside from music, Paddy enjoyed photography and loved literature. Like some of his siblings, he often wrote down quotes and excerpts from various forms of literature. In February 1939, Paddy joined the militia and was assigned to the amalgamated 2054th Battalion. Upon the outbreak of war in September 1939, the battalion split and Webb went to the 54th. At the beginning of July 1940, he obtained a discharge in order to enlist in the Australian Imperial Force. Paddy joined the 2nd Machine Gun Battalion on the 27th of July 1940 at Ingleburn in Sydney. After training, the unit embarked at the end of December, arriving in Egypt at the end of January 1941. The battalion conducted further training in Palestine before being posted to Mersa Matruh in Egypt at the end of April. They spent the next 12 months on garrison duties in Egypt, then from early 1942 in Syria. At this time, the 2nd Machine Gun Battalion became part of the 9th Division, the famed Rats of Tobruk. At the end of June 1942, the 9th Division was rushed back to the front, now on the El Alamein line in Egypt. There the Australians played an important and prominent part in holding the enemy advance, which saved Alexandria, Cairo, and the Suez Canal. As part of the British 8th Army, they then drove Rommel's forces back during the decisive battle in October and November. The 2nd Machine Gunners were vital to supporting the infantry during these intense period of fighting. Between July and November, 32 men of the battalion died, while over 100 were wounded. After El Alamein, the 9th Division returned home in preparation to fight the Japanese in the Southwest Pacific. The 2nd sailed from Palestine in late January 1943, arriving in Sydney at the end of February. After taking leave, the battalion reformed on the Atherton Tableland in Queensland where the men undertook jungle training. In August, it was sent to Milne Bay in Papua and next month landed at Lae, New Guinea, to support the 9th Division. After Lae, it took Finschhaven. For the remainder of 42, the machine gunners supported the infantry as it fought its way forward to Saddleberg, then Seo. On the 20th December, Paddy was taken sick with dengue fever and was placed on the seriously ill list at the 2nd First Australian General Hospital in Port Moresby. In early January 1944, he was evacuated to Sydney on the hospital ship Menunda and admitted to hospital. After a lengthy recovery, Paddy was discharged from hospital in May. In July, he rejoined his unit in Queensland, where it remained for the rest of the year and into 1945. In March 1945, the battalion was ordered back to New Guinea, where it was stationed on Maratai Island. Its final combat operations were at Tarakan Island, Brunei Bay and Labuan in May and June. With Japanese surrender on the 2nd of September 1945, the war was over. But not so the heartache. A few weeks later, on the 27th September 1945, Paddy was found dead with a bullet wound to the head from a pistol. His death was deemed accidental. He was 26 years old. Initially buried at Kuala Belait, his remains were later reburied at the War Cemetery on Labuan Island, Malaysia. His name is also listed on the Roll of Honour on my left among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Lance Corporal Wallace McGregor Webb, who gave his life for us and in the hope of a better world.
Please be upstanding for the reading of the ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We'll leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director and staff, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.